two realize what you've done? One gala, one night, and you've jeopardized everything this family has built for generations!
Minho sat rigid, eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. Minyong leaned back, calm but cold, his hands folded. "Father," Minho started, "I'll handle it. I'll make a public statement." "No," the chairman said sharply. "You'll make a sacrifice." Silence. "You will fly to London, effective immediately. Step down from Langtech operations until this dies down." Minho's head snapped up. "What? You can't." "I can. And I just did. You've embarrassed us before the board, the press, and our partners. The younger one will take your place until further notice." He turned his icy gaze toward Minyong. "And you, do not think you are exempt. The only reason you're still sitting there is because you kept your composure." Minyong said nothing, though inside, his heart raced, because composure was all that had kept him from losing her completely last night. Audrey's phone buzzed again. This time it was him. "Minho. Audrey, please. Meet me. Just one last time before I leave." Her stomach tightened. She knew she shouldn't, but closure, even painful closure, was something she needed. The cafe was nearly empty, tucked away near the Han River. Minho was already there. No bodyguards, no pretense. Just him. The man she'd loved for 10 years, now a stranger. "You didn't even deny it," she said softly, her voice shaking. "You let the world think I seduced both of you." "I couldn't," he said, eyes tired. "Anything I say would make it worse." "So silence is better? Letting everyone destroy my name?" He looked away, jaw tight. "Do you know how it felt, Audrey? 10 years of waiting, wanting, loving you, and the one time you decide to give yourself, it's to him. My brother." Her breath caught. "It was a mistake," she said, tears welling. "You're the one who deceived me. You hid your fiancé, your engagement, your family's plans." His voice broke. "Because I was afraid. Afraid you'd leave if you knew the truth. You should have trusted me," she whispered. "And you should have known me." He fired back, pain flickering in his eyes. "You think Minyong's different? You think he won't hurt you too?" He stood abruptly, his anger cracking the fragile air. "Maybe we both deserved this mess." Then he left just like that, without looking back. The world outside had turned gray with rain, but inside her apartment, it was the constant buzz of her phone that filled the silence. Every notification carried the same poison. Audrey Wilson, the foreign woman who shattered the Lang brothers' empire. She had thought the scandal would fade. It didn't. The Lang name was everywhere, and somehow she was still its center. But amid all that chaos, only one man didn't turn his back. The one everyone underestimated, Minyong Lang. He arrived at her apartment unannounced, impeccably dressed even in the downpour. His black suit looked untouched by rain. In one hand, he carried a paper bag. In the other, his phone, still lighting up with bored messages he ignored. "You haven't eaten," he said, voice calm but firm. He unpacked the food, gimbap, tea, strawberries, with deliberate grace, like a man used to control. She had seen men with power before, loud, arrogant, self-important. But he was different. His power was quiet. It filled the room without needing to be announced. The storm outside slowed, but inside Seoul's media circuits, the Lang scandal still fueled every headline. Yet the narrative had shifted, thanks to Minyong. He used his influence like a scalpel, cutting down stories, redirecting press attention, quietly buying out small media firms that refused to stop dragging Audrey's name. When he said he'd protect her, he hadn't meant words, he meant action. And the world began to notice. The tabloids now called him the Shadow CEO, the man who rebuilt the Lang Empire while his brother hid in London. One night, he called her to meet him at Lang Tower. When she entered his office on the 58th floor, she stopped short. He stood behind a glass wall overlooking Seoul, the city's lights shimmering beneath him like diamonds he already owned. "You run all this?" she asked quietly. "I built most of it," he replied without arrogance. "Just truth." She swallowed. "Why did you ask me here?" He turned, his gaze steady. "Because I'm tired of pretending I don't care." Her heart jumped. You were my brothers. Mistake, he cut in gently. But you're my choice. She stared at him, lost for words. You don't know what you're saying, she whispered. I know exactly what I'm saying. He stepped closer, his voice lowering. You've been at the center of everyone's storm, Audrey. Let me be the calm for once. And before she could answer, he kissed her. Not with desperation, but with certainty. It was the kiss of a man who didn't ask permission to exist in your life. When they finally pulled apart, breath mingling, he said quietly, I don't care what anyone thinks. You're not a scandal to me. You're the first thing in years that feels honest. She didn't know what scared her more, his words or how much she wanted to believe them. But outside, the rain had stopped, and somewhere, a jet engine roared toward Seoul. Minho Lang was coming home. The Lang private jet touched down just after dawn. From the moment Minho Lang stepped out, the air around him felt heavy pride, fury, and something darker. He had left Seoul a disgraced heir. Now he was coming back to reclaim everything. The empire, the power, and her. But what he didn't know was that while he'd been gone, the balance of power had shifted. The brother he once dismissed as quiet had become untouchable. At Lang Tower, the employees stood straighter, whispering as Minho walked through the lobby. But the respect he once commanded wasn't the same. The portraits on the wall had changed. New leadership plaques bore Minyong's name. He stopped at the reception desk, jaw tightening. My brother's office. Now, on the 58th floor, Minyong was in a meeting not with staff but with members of the international board. Executives from London, Dubai, Tokyo, all on his video screen, all reporting to him. When Minho entered, the conversation froze. Minyong didn't even turn immediately. He simply said, Excuse us, and ended the call with a single tap. Then he looked up, calm, composed. You should have called first. You replaced me, Minho said, fury in his eyes. I stabilized the company, Minyong corrected. You left it bleeding. You think you're better than me? No, Minyong said, standing. I know I'm better prepared. The words hit harder than a shout. You took my position and my woman, Minho said quietly. You lost both before I ever touched them. The brothers stared at each other in silence. Two versions of power. One loud and breaking, the other silent and unshakable. Later that evening, Audrey's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Still sounds like the girl I used to know. Came the voice she both missed and feared. Her breath caught. Minho. Meet me tonight. The Han River Cafe. 10 o'clock. Before she could refuse, he hung up. The city lights reflected across the dark water. Minho sat in his usual corner. Sharper than she remembered. Angrier, too. When she approached, he rose halfway, his eyes softening for a moment before turning cold again. You came, he said. You sounded serious. You sound different, like someone who forgot what we were. She crossed her arms. We were a lie, Minho. You hid your fiancé. You lied about everything. And you ran straight to my brother. Her voice cracked. It wasn't like that. Tell me you don't love him. Silence. He laughed bitterly. I thought so. Sliding a black envelope across the table, he said, You'll need this. The Lang family gala. Tomorrow night. Father insists your presence might ease the tension. Why would I go to that? Because Minyong will. And because you still don't know what he's capable of. Her pulse quickened. What are you talking about? But he was already gone. Back at Lang Tower, Minyong stood by the window watching lightning split the sky. He didn't look angry, just calculating. He's back, he said to his assistant. Good. Good, sir? Yes. You can't end a war without your enemy on the field. Audrey sat in her apartment, staring at the invitation. A golden seal glimmered in the lamplight. She knew that stepping into that gala would change everything. Because this time, she wasn't just walking into the brothers' feud. She was walking into their empire's battlefield. The Lang family gala was not a party. It was a coronation wrapped in crystal and deceit. The Grand Seoul Palace glittered under chandeliers the size of moons, each one shimmering over guests dressed like royalty. Cameras flashed as Seoul's elite poured through marble doors, whispering rumors. Who will the chairman name as heir tonight? Will Minho reclaim his crown? Will the foreign girl dare to show her face? And then she did. Audrey Wilson walked in. Not timid, not hidden, but radiant. A midnight silk gown hugged her curves, simple yet disarming. Her hair swept back, neck bare, eyes fierce. For a moment, the crowd forgot to whisper. At the center of the room stood Minyong Lang, flanked by ministers, investors, and foreign dignitaries. His black tuxedo was crisp, his presence magnetic. No need for words. When he turned and saw her, something in his gaze softened. For the first and only time that night. "You came," he murmured as she approached. "You knew I would." "Yes," he said quietly, "because I wanted you to see who truly owns this empire." When the orchestra faded, Chairman Lang, their father, rose to the podium, frail, his legacy trembling under decades of control. "Tonight," the old man began, "we honor not just family, but the strength that binds it. My sons." But he stopped, because Minho was walking in. Every head turned. The prodigal son, back in a white tuxedo, bold as fire, and directly behind him, gasps followed, reporters, flashing cameras, whispers of scandal reborn. The brothers locked eyes across the ballroom. Silence rippled. "My son returns," the chairman said, voice uncertain. Minho bowed, forcing a smile. "Father." But before the old man could continue, Minyong stepped forward. Calm, elegant, dangerous. "Father, before you continue, I think there's something the family and the board should hear." He signaled to the technician. The lights dimmed. A massive screen flickered to life behind him. Images appeared, financial reports, corporate holdings, international subsidiaries, all stamped with one name, Minyong Lang. Whispers erupted. He had quietly taken control of every branch of Lang Holdings. Seoul, Singapore, New York, consolidating them into his own portfolio. The empire already belonged to him. While others were hiding from scandal, Minyong said, his voice clear, "I rebuilt what our family nearly lost." "You betrayed me," Minho growled. "No," Minyong replied. "I saved us." The crowd erupted with murmurs again. Journalists typing furiously, investors nodding. "And as for personal matters," Minyong continued, his eyes never leaving his brother, "let's not pretend the world doesn't already know." He turned slightly, his gaze settling on Audrey. The cameras followed. "The woman you tried to destroy is under my protection. Anyone who touches her, touches me." A ripple of shock moved through the ballroom. Audrey's breath caught. Minho's face twisted. "You stole her." "No," Minyong said softly, stepping closer. "You broke her. I helped her heal." Then he leaned in, voice low enough for only his brother to hear. "And you'll never understand what that kind of power feels like, to be chosen without manipulation." Minho lunged, grabbing his collar. The crowd gasped. "You think this is over?" Minyong's expression didn't flicker. "It already is." Security rushed forward, but Minyong held up one hand. "Let him go." He looked his brother in the eye, a slow, deliberate dominance. "You still think you're the heir?" "I'm the firstborn," Minho shouted. "And I'm the one the world listens to," Minyong replied. "Titles don't make leaders. Actions do." Audrey could barely breathe. The tension was suffocating. She wanted to run, but Minyong's voice stopped her. "Audrey!" Everyone turned. "Come here." Her feet moved before her mind caught up. When she reached him, he took her hand. Firm, unshaken. "You're shaking," he whispered. "Everyone's watching," she murmured. "Let them." Then he turned back to the hall, still holding her hand. "For those wondering," he said, eyes sweeping the crowd. "Yes, she's the woman I love, and I will not trade her for anything." The silence that followed wasn't fear. It was respect. Even the chairman didn't speak. Because for the first time in the Lang dynasty's history, everyone could see who truly ruled it. Later that night, after the guests had left and Seoul's skyline burned with golden light, Minyong, still holding Audrey, whispered to her, "Move in with me." She hesitated but finally accepted. Audrey stood on the balcony of the Lang Tower penthouse. The wind brushed her skin. She was still trembling. Minyong walked up behind her. Silent, he placed a hand on her shoulder. Strong, steady. "You shouldn't have had to face that," he said quietly. "You didn't give me a choice," she whispered. "You never needed one," he said. "You were always the only thing I wouldn't hide." Her heart thudded. "And what happens now?" He looked out over the city, his empire, before meeting her eyes again. "Now," he said slowly, "we stop pretending we owe anyone an explanation." But as they stood there, the faintest flicker of worry crossed her face, because under the soft fabric of her gown her hand brushed her belly. She hadn't told him yet. Not about the missed months. Not about the 2 faint lines. And soon, not even Minyong's power could hide that truth. The morning sunlight filtered through Minyong's penthouse, reflecting off the glass like a million tiny stars. Audrey stood before the mirror, her robe loose, staring at the faint curve that had appeared over the last few weeks. 3 months. The small swell beneath her silk robe was unmistakable. Her heart raced as she pressed a hand to it. One night, one mistake, one life growing inside her. Her phone buzzed. A message from Minho. "We need to talk." The mansion. 8 p.m. Her breath caught. Facing him now, knowing he'd see her growing belly, was terrifying. But it had to be done. The Lang mansion glowed under chandeliers, casting long shadows. Minho stood at the top of the staircase, poised, but his eyes betrayed years of hurt. "You came," he said quietly. Audrey swallowed hard. "You asked me to." He studied her. His gaze fell to the curve beneath her dress. "You're pregnant." Her voice trembled. "Yes, it's 3 months. And it's his." She nodded. Silence stretched between them, heavy with years of unspoken tension. 10 years, Audrey," he said, voice bitter. 10 years of waiting, and you gave yourself to him? "I thought it was you that night," she whispered. "I went to your house, but it was his. I never meant for this." Minho shook his head. "And yet here we are." The tension was interrupted by the soft echo of footsteps. Minyong appeared, his presence calm yet commanding, eyes locking on Audrey, then Minho. "What's going on?" he asked, voice low. "Ask her," Minho said, turning away. Audrey whispered, 3 months. The truth hung in the air. Minyong's jaw tightened, then softened as he lifted her hand to his chest. "You're carrying my child," he said, awe breaking through his control. Audrey nodded, tears spilling. "I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you." Minyong pulled her close. "You could never scare me from you. Not now, not ever." That night, in the penthouse overlooking Seoul, Minyong knelt on one knee. The city glittered like diamonds below. "Audrey Wilson," he began, voice steady, fierce, and tender all at once. "I don't care how we started. I don't care about mistakes. What matters is this, you, me, and the life we've begun together. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Minyong. Always yes." He rose, holding her close, and they kissed, the city lights casting their shadows long and golden on the walls. Weeks later, the couple married in an intimate ceremony. No grand hall, no extravagance, just family, soft music, and whispered vows. Minho stood at the side, solemn yet smiling, accepting the union that had once torn him apart. "I'll always be their uncle," he whispered to Audrey during the ceremony. "And I'm glad you're both happy," she replied softly. The twins were not yet born, but the promise of family, love, and reconciliation hung in the air like golden sunlight. Snow fell softly over Seoul, blanketing the city in white. Inside the hospital, the room glowed warmly with lamplight and joy. Audrey lay exhausted but radiant, her twins swaddled in blankets beside her. A boy and a girl. Minyong held her hand, eyes shimmering with awe. "They're perfect," she whispered. "They're ours," he said. 2 hearts, 1 story. The door opened slowly. Minho appeared, carrying white camellias. "I wanted to see them," he said softly. "I needed to be here." Audrey smiled. Come in. They'll want to know their uncle someday. Minho stepped forward, a rare vulnerability in his posture. Uncle, I can live with that. Minyong extended a hand, bridging years of silence. Minho took it. She changed you, Minho said quietly. She saved me, Minyong replied. Audrey awoke to sunlight and soft coos. Minyong held their baby boy. She reached for the tiny girl in her arms, feeling the miracle of life they had created. What shall we name them? She asked. Minnie, he said for the girl, Grace. And June, for the boy. Talented, exceptional. Like you. She smiled through tears. Perfect. He kissed her forehead. We built this together. Love, mistakes, redemption, it's ours. Snow melted outside. The city sparkled. The Lang family, once fractured, was whole. Audrey and Minyong, married and in love, now faced the future together, with twins in their arms and Minho by their side. For the first time, everything was exactly as it was meant to be.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also tell us the country you are watching us from in the comments section so that we will make a story for you.